is Carol May Whittick, your creativity and spiritual life coach and your host of Her Conversations Tools for the Awakening. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. This is the optimal state to embody in order to attract our highest desires. What is the awakening? This is the moment in time when humanity rises up out of the darkness. Who is awakening? Each one of us present on earth today, reclaiming our sovereignty, seeking greater possibilities in our reality and looking for solutions. We know being awakened is not a lofty ideal but a necessity. If we can transform ourselves, we can change the world. Guests on Her Conversations will speak to your spirituality, sensuality and soul. Listen to their stories and hear how they are in service to the world. Let their words and these conversations embolden and inspire you. And before we go into this week's episode with Irene Kloppenburg, I just want to first tell you some ways that I can support you. Firstly, you can tune into Her Inspirations, which is a sister podcast to this title. Within each episode, I explore and take you on a different aspect of our spiritual and creative journeys. And also, if you join the mailing list, you'll receive emails with additional teaching points and resources for you to explore deeper on your own personal journey. Maybe you're someone that's always wanted to be heard in the world. You're thinking of launching your own podcast. You want to show up more on social media, in public speaking, or maybe you just are ready to be a bit more strong and vocal in your life. I've created Your Awakened Voice for you, and this is my course, which uses a holistic approach, acknowledging the intricate connection between your physical body, mind, and spirit. This course empowers you to discover and develop your voice. And I have a question for any of you, my listeners, women over 40. Know that you have decades of wisdom, and this new chapter of your life is about bucking against the limited narrative of society. So what would you create in your life if you embodied the power to realize it? If you're thinking about that and you need some support, I'm here to help you trust that intuition and rediscover your innate creativity. Further details and links and all the information are in the show notes below. My guest this week is Coach Irene Kloppenburg from iMindcoaching. iMindcoaching helps people to free themselves from the negative triggers of past events. There's no need to relive the past by talking about it, because this modality opens the way to then explore where you want to go in the future and break free of the chains of the past and find your path to personal transformation. During our conversation, Irene shares about her journey from living in a commune in Norway to starting again in London, and her studies with the founder of the Dutch Matrix method, Ingrid Stoop, and the building of her coaching practice that she has today. So as always, I begin by asking my guest. Her is an acronym for Higher Energetic Resonance. When do you feel that higher energetic resonance?
Well, it is funny because the more I delve into coaching, both coaching and being coached, the more I discover that everything is energy and frequency. So the more we align our thoughts and beliefs with the outcomes we want, the more we send out and receive that frequency. And then you learn how to tap into the big energy that's surrounding us. And then I choose to let go of everything that brings me low energy and just focus on the highest energy possible to make my life, to shape my life the way that's good for me.
Thank you for that. And before we go into the conversation, I want to just give you the mic to just share a little bit about your background and how you got to be doing the fantastic work that we're going to find out more about later on.
Well, there's a lot to say about that, but I'll just start like 12 years ago when I literally came to the UK from the Netherlands with 2 suitcases and a violin, as I wanted to find my own feet. I had lived in a commune all the time before. I also lived somewhere else. I studied, but I came back to the commune. And although this was like a home for everyone who came there, and my father was a father figure for them, the commune evolved around his being a preacher, and he found that some people didn't feel at home in the church or they were not welcomed. He opened his house, so all the people came in. So it was like a huge family growing and growing, but because of his own family issues, traumatic past, he couldn't deal with the concept family. And then he said, well, being family, biological family is not important. It is kindred spirits. It's your soulmates in faith. That counts. But yet we couldn't help it. We were his children. And so somehow he couldn't deal with that. And one by one, we left the commune. I think I stayed the longest. And only 12 years ago, I said, I need to stand on my own feet, but I want to go overseas to digest it in my own way, in my own path, to find my own path to transformation. And that was the start of it, to find how important it is that you find to deal with what happened in the past. Because although my father has been an important figure for a lot of people, by not dealing with his own traumatic family past, he kind of burdened all his many children with that trauma. So we all got out damaged, more or less. Mm. And then I thought, this needs to stop with me. I don't want to transfer to whoever I live with or work with or whatever. I need to find what it is and I need to deal with that. Now, coming from a Christian background, it was not something we did. We didn't go and ask for help, because you just pray and it will always be good and that's it. But I found I really needed another person just to be able to shape my thoughts. Not always for them to give me the answers, but to express myself and hear myself and acknowledge what was going on and then find a way to overcome it. In the meantime, I went into teaching because that was my profession already. So in London, I could easily find work. I supplied in over 50 schools, I think, a fantastic way to get to know London and all its boroughs. And at some point, I became an intervention teacher long-term in Walthamstow. And I found that if I worked with children and I really were looking for their strengths rather than for their weaknesses, they could overcome negative self-beliefs, they could overcome feeling not good enough, and then they would just blossom. And then learning suddenly became much easier. In that time, I heard from a Dutch friend about a coaching that was developed in the Netherlands by Ingrid Stoop, matrix coaching. And I decided to take some time off, follow that course to implement that in my teaching. And it was about replacing negative or wrong information in your mind by bringing it back to your processing memory and then take out the triggers and restore it as positive or neutral information. And that was fantastic. But it did not only help me, it also helped me resolve unresolved traumas. So I was very enthusiastic about it. Wasn't known in the UK. I didn't know what to do with it yet. So I just implemented it in my teaching. But soon I also spoke with colleagues about it and they came with things that I could resolve. And friends of them or friends of family came. And I think one of the beautiful things of this coaching is that people don't have to share with me the details of the events they went through or the details of their phobias or whatever. So they don't have to relive it totally and we don't have to discuss it. I stay outside of it, but I guide with carefully designed questions for themselves to reframe in their minds. And that's not only based on pictures or on visual parts like other therapies sometimes do as well, but we involve all senses in it. And then they change how they store the information again in the way they want. So people are in control themselves. I just guide the process. And I found it so amazingly effective that sometimes it's hard to believe that in how short time you can really reset your brain, because those memories are in the past and still they affect you today and still they affect your future. And if you can find a way to break free from those change and leave the past and just bring it back to facts rather than emotions, then you can get on with your life. You don't have to deny anything that happened, but just your emotions for now and for the future are changing. So that is a fantastic thing I noticed. And therefore I decided, because when I was using this in my intervention teaching and later in other schools as well, I found that this is really what I want to go on with, what I really want to bring out in the UK and abroad, because it's now just in the Netherlands and it's so amazing. More people should hear about it.
Okay, there's a few questions I want to ask you as well that are separate. So I'm trying to think where to go first. Let me go here, because you came from the background of religion. I come from a religious background as well. So my father was a pastor. So I was born right in the church, you know? So like there's a little bit of a similarity there as well. But over the years, then I moved away from the church, but I haven't lost my faith, you know, so I'm not down on the faith aspect. It was one of the things that I started to recognize was that even though people around me had such a deep faith in the church and such a belief in God and a higher power and prayer and all of those kind of things that helped them, they were still not able to do what you and I have done when you've moved away from the church and deal with things that are still following us that we haven't dealt with, you know, like any kind of wounds from childhood, any generational wounds that are running through our family, and have then taken the step to figure out what it is. It's like, why is this happening? What is going on? I don't want to carry this forward. You know, I know that I made a decision that until I figure out what it is that's around me and why I see things this way and really understand, I'm not going to go ahead and have children or go into any deep relationship, because I don't want to perpetuate this. Because I can't, you know, like it's more than, you know, there's some level of work that I'm going to have to do that isn't just about me going, well, I'm not going to be like that, because these are unconscious things. So us with our conscious mind going, I'm not going to do that, is not necessarily enough. You know, we need to go to the points of like, what started this? Where does this come from? And not about blame, but just about recognizing the genesis of whatever that is that's creating the behaviors and the beliefs and then the experience that we have in the world. So what was it, do you think, that what were the beginning things for you that, you know, you were just like, I need to get away, and you're like 2 suitcases and a violin and I'm going to go to a completely different country, you know, put a body of water between us. What was it that gave you that real desire to go? More than that, was there something bigger? Did you see something more for yourself? Did you look at the patterns around you and know that you didn't want to go there? Like, what was there, one thing, or was there a buildup of many things? Or, you know, share that part of you as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, we have quite some similarity here. For myself, I kind of verbalized it in making a distinction between faith and religion. I don't know if that is the general definition of it, but for me, faith is something in your heart between you and God, and religion is the system of organizations who gather around faith, but often they also implement some kind of power structures. And I wanted to break free from that, but I let my faith go, but it didn't let me go. So it's still part of my life without mentioning it in certain forms, but it's something that resonates with me when I find someone else who's also going through their own path in life and finds, a higher connection. So that's first. And I think what triggered the most in me is that a Jewish friend of the family said to me, your Christians always say that, or your Jesus says, you need to love your neighbors as yourself, but you forget the last bit. And then I realized that's true. I am caring for other people, making sure they get the second cup of coffee while I can hardly live. And that's made me realize deeply that what I did was not really the faith I felt, but it was trying to find my way in a structure. And I wanted to break free from that, but also whilst other people left the commune sometimes as well, and they found each other by talking negatively about things. The more you look for negative things, the more you can find. And the more you focus on the positives, the more you can find. But I wanted to go and really find what it meant to me and how I could get out of what had limited me. So after a couple of years, with a lot of talking to people, reading books, and just finding what it was that ticked in me, I asked some people from the community to meet with me. And I thought, I just need to tell them what I think went wrong for me. And I don't care if they understand it or not, I just need to say it so I can leave it behind me. And when we had this meeting, it was so fantastic that they both understood and apologized and also shared their ideas about it. But since that meeting, I could remember all the good things that happened as well. So I started to dream and remember things from my childhood that were fantastic. They were there as well. So it opened up this process to really go and find what it is I wanted to break free from, what it was I wanted to keep, and then move on.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so tell me about discovering this new modality and some history also about it, because it is so new, and like you say, there's probably very few people practicing it in the UK.
Well, yeah, in the Netherlands, quite a few people know about this and use it. It's developed by Ingrid Stoop, and she's still working on it, always trying to just fine-tune it. And she used all the knowledge of the studies she did with NLP and other trainings to put this together. And she is training people, and now she's also training people to teach to others. But I trained with herself, so I got it from first hand. There's also a study going on, and it's not fully published yet, how this relates to imaginary reframing. And so there's some university looking at it, what it does. The results look very good, but the effect is so profound. I never ever say from anything that it will work 100% for everyone, because we are different, but it has helped so many people in such a short time. It is based on the idea that we store things as a perception. If, for example, there's an accident and you ask 3 witnesses what happened, you get 3 different stories. And none of them is lying. It's just their perception of things, how it happened. And then you construct your own story about it. We do the same with our own memories. It is the perception of that moment, the feeling, the emotions we had at that moment that color the picture or the sound or the smell or whatever you have about it. And once it's stored in your long-term memory, anything that associates with it is colored by that perception. So if something is traumatic for you, anything that's associated with it gets this traumatic effect to it. Even if you pour over a lot of positive experiences, it doesn't go away as long as this negative experience is stored in your memory. So that's where we work on. I ask people to, well, as I've been taught, but I ask people to just put a few dots on a piece of paper to say how many times they have experienced this coming up. And then we focus on one moment in time, and one moment is so short because now it's already in the past. As soon as you've said it, it's in the past. So our experience are those very short memories. But when you focus on it, and without speaking about it, you bring it back to your processing memory, you can then, with those questions, you can kind of unravel it. You can just see what is attached to it. For example, if you have a smell associated with it, and that smell is reminding you, you can then try to put another smell under your nose and then find something that you really like to smell. And that is reframing that experience. So then only the facts, the pure facts stay, but not the emotions anymore. That is a slight, it's difficult to explain it. It's so much easier to experience it.
The reason that I connected with you is because I saw you do a live demonstration of it at a conference, which I thought was like a really powerful way to demonstrate basically exactly what was happening, by have them experience or visualize what it is that they want to work on without you ever having to sit down and go into the thing over and over again and deal with it on a different level. Do you have any ideas as to how the founder arrived at the point where she realized that this was a way of working? Did she come from a background that was maybe more talk therapy based and realize that that can only go so far? Because when it comes to therapeutics and healing and trying to move past things that are keeping us in a certain place of stuckness or perception, a lot of the time it's going back and going over the thing and talking about the thing and looking about the thing that then doesn't necessarily move people forward. I mean, everyone's got their own point of view about what therapy or what kind of modalities work for them to move forward. I'm just curious if you did find out ever about what it was that opened it up for her and gave her the inspiration to create this technique.
Yeah, she did speak about that, and I'm sure you can find it on her website as well. But she's very pragmatic, and I forgive me if I get the facts a little bit different, but the message I took, I think she worked with either a family member or some acquaintances or in school, I don't know, but she found out that someone just couldn't cope with everything that was going on in their head. And she's very pragmatic, and just by asking questions without putting her opinion on it, she found that she could really help that person to get free of it. And so but she has this all the time. When she's on holiday and someone is in the water and walking on those sharp stones and couldn't swim, and then the stream came, and she's very pragmatic. She just goes there and she helps them, and instantly she starts talking about things, and then they come to a problem, and in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they get out of the problem by talking with her. And that is how she does things, and then she thinks about it. And she was already interested in how the brain works and how people experience things by doing the courses she did. But she is very much a thinker and a pragmatic doer, and so she developed techniques. And I also felt when working on it, sometimes I derive a little bit from it. So you don't know the situation, but I worked with a boy that is very, very smart, but he couldn't cope with language. Maybe he's dyslexic, maybe he has something. But then I asked him, said, well, what is going on in your head then? What is happening? He said, well, I need to write this essay for English, but there's so many ideas in my head going on. And they just distract me, and I can't cope with everything at the same time. So I asked him, so what would you like those ideas to do? So I just want them to sit and wait until I finished my essay. And so he came on a surgery waiting room, and he just put all his ideas on chairs, and then they had to wait until it was their turn. And it helped him tremendously. But it was just by listening and carefully listening to what he says and helping him to form his solutions that he learned to cope with that. And then I also implemented other things I know about dyslexia and things, but it's just this process of really listening, really trying to understand the other person. And then, more and more she developed and more she fine-tuned. I'm quite a creative person, and I also always want to do things my own way. But I found out that this part of my coaching works best if I really follow her questions that she fine-tuned over the years. If I make it a little bit different, it's less effective. So I need to stick to that pattern for the best effect. And then from there, where you break free from those past things holding you back, then you can explore the path to where you want to go. And that's where I can use my life experience and my creativity and intelligence to then guide you and help you and ask questions, make you more aware of what you want. So I implement it in my coaching, but it's such a unique aspect. So I needed to tell that part of the story, that part of my coaching, because it's just so simple and effective that, people need to know about it.
Beautiful. I love that. And what are some of the most, when you're working with clients, you never really know how things are going to go. I'm speaking from my experience now. And then you'll see a shift and a real transformation in someone's life that even blows you away. As much as you believe in the work that you're doing, then you see someone transform, move into a different space that you couldn't ever have imagined. And it's not because you don't have faith, it's just, everyone wants to change, but not everybody, commits to the process enough to experience the change that they might believe that they want. And that's, again, down to whatever they're talking about on the inside. But I just want to hear about some of the things and some of the transformations that you've witnessed that have been astounding to you and gave you like real deeper faith in the work and the modality that you use.
Well, for example, when I was tutoring a child, and she was so afraid of doing any kind of test, but she was very bright. She knew everything. She could easily pass, but because of the fear of a test, she just blocked. And what was striking me after we did this training, and I always ask at the beginning, like, how bad is it for you? And then you have to give a number from 0 to 10, 10 being the worst and 0 being okay, but not important. And so we went through this coaching, and she kind of lost the fear of test. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she had a teacher once who really scolded her for not passing the test. I don't know. She never taught me anything. But she never spoke about it anymore. I saw her every week when we did the tuition. She never spoke about fear of test anymore. And then when she passed her SAT test in year 6, I asked her, so do you remember that you were so scared of doing a test? She said, no. Did I? Because it was totally gone from her memory. And then she said, well, remember we did that lift? Oh, yeah. And then I thought, this is so, in a way, this is good, because it means there's such a freedom that it's not bothering anymore. She doesn't always overcome that hurdle. No, the hurdle is gone. So that was very effective for me. And another situation where I coached someone who was really feeling bothered about, she was confident enough being young and bright and doing things, but some elder people found it difficult to trust her because of her age and her gender and everything. And she really felt naked by it. So we spoke about that, and afterwards, because when I did the coaching, I didn't know anything. But the other striking effect was that not only did she get more confidence to still deal with the thing, also the other person changed their behavior towards her. And this is a bit about this energy, because when you solve that problem in yourself and you think, well, no matter what they think, I am here and I need to do what I do and I need to be who I am, then also your surroundings change, because you are sending a different kind of energy, I believe.
100%. And what have you got in your visions and your dreams for the future of your practice and things that you'd like to see create for yourself?
I like to work with highly professional women because they sometimes put in so much effort, but they're still held back by limiting beliefs because we still need to overcome the gender difference and we still need to overcome patterns in ourselves and from our surroundings. And also, people need to deal with so many expectations, both at home and at work, and growing out of the usual things that your family is in. So all those family patterns as well, family systems that are ingrained. I would like to work with them to set them free of those limiting beliefs and then really find their drive and really move forward. And then because every time when you go on your path, you come to new things that are holding you back. So it's not a one thing forever. You can't deal with one aspect, one single fear or phobia or traumatic event in one session. But in life, always things will come up. There are always some blocks or blockades or sabotage patterns that we come across. So what I really envision as my coaching is start with removing the things you're already aware of, go on this path to your transformation, and then in the way still apply this technique to then break those patterns and not break like forcefully, but get over them, solve them, resolve them, move on, and still have your goal in mind. Where do you want to go? How do you want to live? Who do you want to be? And then following that pattern in a long-term relationship where we can just spar. And as I found myself, I said at the beginning of our conversation that I was not used to go and ask for help to someone else. As a coach, I still ask for coaches to coach me because we need that. We need that third person looking at us, helping us to be aware of where we are, what we do, because we can't read our own label. So you need someone with a different perspective to look over your shoulder and guide you there. So that's what I really want to do. And then take it to wherever you want to go, because there is no limit.
And I'm glad to hear that you're talking about working with professional women as well, because I feel a lot of the time as well with the clients that I've had from especially from a very corporate structure who have achieved outwardly a lot of success, and it's not to take away from the decades that they've invested in themselves in order to create that for themselves, that then, like you said, not being able to ask for help or still, masking certain things that are not quite dealt with, that may also have been their drivers. They have something that they felt that they didn't want to replicate in their family. Maybe they saw their mother doing a certain thing, or a dynamic in their family that they wanted to get away from. They actually used that to propel them forward without dealing with getting that negativity or that block within themselves. Am I making myself clear? Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then as well, sometimes I've met with a client who realizes that it's not a useful thing, but also recognizes how having that thing there keeps propelling them forward. It's almost like the fear of going back to that is what keeps them moving forward. And who would they be without the reminder of where they came from? Maybe you got so far by using a negative motivation. Imagine how much further you could get with a positive motivation, driving you as well, or without the freedom of being propelled because you fear going back to a certain thing, even though you're clearly, at a point of success, but yeah, for some reason not being able to feel it or appreciate or enjoy and recognize your own successes.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is that sometimes you have something that brings you further, but maybe it's not your own true self, but you needed it to escape from somewhere. And then later it's holding you back because it's not really you. You just used it. And there is a story about someone who was escaping and he needed to cross a river. So he cut a boat out of a tree and he used it to cross the river. He came at the end of the river and he took the boat on his head, climbing the mountain, because this has saved his life.
Right.
But now going on the mountain, it was not useful anymore. And then you need to dare to let go of something that saved your life, but it's not helpful anymore. And I think that is something that, while we survive life, we sometimes use methods that are helpful for the moment, but when we are in a different surrounding where we don't have to fight it anymore, you need to be able to let go and relax and leave the boat there and walk on. And I think I shared something like that. It's a bit different, but I lived behind a glass plate during my teenage years because I couldn't cope with certain things. So I just withdraw. And that was helpful at the time, but later it blocked me to participate in a world that I wanted to participate in. So then I needed to resolve that wall. And that was not easy because it was my stronghold for a long time. But we have different times in our life, and probably you need to break free from something first, but you come at a point that you can relax because you're safe, and then your true self can explore and can grow. So I think maybe that is something like you mean, like how to let go of things that have been helpful but not anymore, because we don't want to be guided by fear anymore. And especially people over 40 that have struggled to come somewhere, they deserve to think in who they are. And, yes, and to acknowledge themselves for where they are, and to be proud and to be relaxed, and then see, but what is it really I want to do? How can I add to not only my life, but also the life of the people around me, the people I care for, and maybe a broader environment, but not anymore from fear, but from being significant.
I love the way that you explain that. I did the same thing, you know, the when an environment is just like too much for you to handle, how I created a wall around myself for safety, to like, at least I could control that environment when everything else around you is going all the way and you're like, this is a lot, you know, let me kind of build this this wall, like I like what you said with the
bubble.
yeah, so that at least I'm safe and I can contain and control this environment. But then there comes a point, so it gets you and it keeps you safe for that time being, but then when you go out into the world, having that kind of safety bubble around you, then one, keeps people away because, you know, you won't let them in, but also because you then look so self-efficient that they make the assumption that you don't need help, you know, and then it becomes that balance of realizing, you know what, I can't continue to do this on my own. And talking from my own experience, I was always very much in awe of people who could ask for help. And it might sound like the craziest of things, but I'd be like, how are they doing that? You know, they'd be like, oh, I need to go and ask someone. I need to go and ask someone for help. And they could just go and ask for help and not feel anything about it. Whereas like for me, I had to work at building myself up. It was almost like I was about to go into like a fighting ring. Like the effect of asking for help, the impact that had on my nervous system, just thinking about it, was so much that I had to like, you know, you get ready for the fight and like, okay, right, I'm going to go and ask so and so.
And then sometimes if you can ask for help and you're so stressed about it, it doesn't work out well, does it?
Exactly, because it comes out like, you know, I that it would come out would be like, you know, it came out in such a like jokey, non-serious way that then I wasn't really taken serious. Like, one, because I looked so competent, and then someone who you assume is competent is then asking for help, but they're laughing about it. So they're serious. It's like, no, I'm laughing because I'm stressed, to ask for simple things, So that was probably one of my biggest lessons. And still to this day, I can feel little bits of that creeping in, I'm like, you need to ask for help. I'm like, okay, but it's okay. People ask for help all the time. And the people who ask and receive for help move forward, they get on with stuff, they collaborate, so I know that was a big learning for myself, being able to not realize that you don't have to do it on your own. There's like billions of people in the world, and we're here to collaborate, not to do things in our own individual bubble. No one gets prizes for doing it on their own, they just don't.
And I was just lately, I was researching what confident people, what kind of traits they have, just to see what's written about it. And one of the traits of confident people is that they can listen to other people, and that they can ask for help, or they can just then think about it and then change their mind if needed. So they don't have to hold on to their ideas or whatever, because they are confident. And they're not ashamed to not know something, because they're open to learn. And so there's many more beautiful traits of them, but it's so basically confident is being okay with who you are, then growing from that.
I want to just, before we go, just find out about your creativity, because you came here 2 suitcases and a violin. So how do you still indulge in your musicianship?
I recently opened my suitcase, the case for my violin again, and I love to play. But I've always been singing, drawing, finding solutions. So in every aspect of my life, this creativity wants to come out. It's funny because my family, my siblings, they are all very creative. One is an inventor, another is a musician, one is a theater director. And I wasn't good at anything, but I was more than average about a lot of things. So then I embraced that, because I like to do so many different things. I don't want to specialize, but everything is okay, whether you are really happy with doing one thing or you like to do a lot of things. But creativity, yes, it's part of my being and expression, but it's also like there's a situation and there's not a problem, but there is a challenge, and you want to solve it.
Yeah, creativity was my saving grace. I saw very much how when you get into that space of creativity and expression, what you connect to and how much more it brings to your own life, whatever you choose to bring it into. It's like I see the connection between creativity and spirituality. When you're talking about confidence, it's when knowing that I can go back to that space of the root where my creativity stems from, however I need to use it, whether I am doing music or whether I've got like something that I need to plan work-wise, business-wise. Like I'm asking those questions and I'm getting that idea that is solely me, that's very specific to what I'm doing. The confidence comes from there. It doesn't mean that I don't collaborate, but I know that I can go and ask questions and get fed that. It's like, once you kind of tap and have that connection, I suppose the same way that you can see that you utilize someone else's work, but then you bring in your flavor and your expression of it as well, then just grows and grows. So I always like to hear about people's creativity, expression, musicality.
I also think that in coaching, it's a wonderful trait, because you're not limited to your own experiences. You can go with someone, what they tell, and you can kind of step in their shoes and you can look with their eyes and see what opportunities there are. This creativity, you just want to create something from wherever you start and whatever is the case. And I think that creativity is a kind of openness. It's a kind of also being receptive and also being sending again. So again, the sending and receiving energy. And I think creativity channels that.
And And also for me, it breaks down barriers as well. You know, the barriers that we see when we're just looking externally, or what boxes we tick on a form, kind of narrows us down. And creativity is not a narrow experience at all, you know. So to get back into that space where it's limitless and it's infinite and there's so many different ideas, you're seeing somebody from their soul, and understanding their experience, and seeing why their experience might be colored, and just kind of go like, you know, move those out. Let's see that we've all got our, where we all have that core truth for ourselves. This is my idealistic dream for going forward, is for everyone to really find that part of themselves that is naturally creative. It's not specific to anybody. You know, we've all got that. And just when you're able to experience yourself from that creative spiritual point of view, it's very difficult to then go out in the world and then segregate people again, because the two, you can't exist in the two. You know, if you can feel that for yourself, then you can recognize it in other people, and especially as they start to break down their own limitations, how much more of an experience they have. And then that, you know, you can't be feeling that and then go and start clipping people off. Like there'll be a dissonance within you when you're like, oh, you know, yeah, I'm great, but also, but that person's that and this is that. You can't live, the two can't reside with you at all. They don't make sense. That's how, you know, it's opened up for me as well. You know, to find that part means that, especially with music, you know, that's my initial introduction into creativity, and then called into my spirituality, was because it took me around the world also. So I was able to, you know, communicate with people that we just about knew how to say hello in each other's language. But then the minute we started playing, we were having this massive conversation, you know. And that's true of any creativity, you know, like even if you don't speak the language, if you're an artist, or if you're cooking together or you're gardening together, the conversation doesn't have to be the words. It just is the energy and the intention, and seeing the soul and connecting with the soul of everyone. So, you know, that's...
I loved when you said that, like you see them from their soul. You said it in the beginning of this, and then how when you live in this creative expression that you cannot narrow down, you cannot put people in boxes because they don't fit. No one fits in a box, especially not if the box is made by someone else.
Precisely.
So yeah, and what I discovered as well, living in London with so many nationalities there and so many cultures, and there is so much more similarity to everyone than differences. Once you dare to open and up and see beyond the limitations. And then I think growing up a little bit apart from society, I developed my fears for everyone who was different. And it's such an eye-opener to be in this city where so many people you speak to are just people. And I remember the first day I stepped into London, I was looking for the place where I was going to stay. And I had this heavily felt women, and it scared me a little bit. And then I saw under this, I saw their sneakers, because they were walking on sneakers, and it kind of brought them back to normal human beings. So I asked them for directions for the place, and we had a very nice chat. But my first day in London, everything was frightening. You know, where am I? What am I going to do? How am I going to live? But then this little opening, or whatever the opening can be, but then just see the people behind their cultural expressions, behind their words, behind their whatever. People are people, and we all have to find our path in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. So true. So true. Thank you so much, Irene, for sharing. You know, I'm glad that we had this conversation. I got to know you a bit better from, like I said, from seeing your demonstration. at that conference, I was like, I need to speak to her. She needs to share more about the work that she does. So I'm glad that you came and did that today. Before you go, please just share where people can find you and to speak to you about your work.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I also really enjoyed this conversation. And it's again proof of how we can resonate with each other in life. So people can find me by going to my website, which is iMindcoaching.co.uk. And if they want to speak with me, have a free conversation to get to know each other better and see if we can work together, you can just go to my calendar and book a free first initial call. And then we take it from there. So it's iMindcoaching.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for today, Irene. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank you so much, Irene, for sharing your wisdom with me, and thank you for listening. If you are enjoying the episodes of Her Conversations, please share the love, leave a message, share these episodes with people that you think will get the value from them. I appreciate that, and my guests do too. If you want to find out more about me, you can find me on my website, carolmaywhittick.com, carolmaywhittick.com. You can find me as Carol May Whittick on Facebook and LinkedIn, and as Kazmic, Cazmick, on Instagram. So until the next week, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.